Hi guys, I am Chiwendo. Welcome back again to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful pencil skirt with side ruffles. It is very simple. If this is what you're interested in learning, please keep on watching. And if you're yet to hit on the subscribe button, please subscribe and let's get started. For this tutorial, I'll be making use of 1.5 yard of Ankara print and also 1.5 yard of lining. I'm going to be cutting out both the front and the back skirts together. So with this one piece, I'm going to fold into 4 folds, and then I should be having my zipper allowance inclusive. So you can see the front part is totally unfold, which is the part I'm touching right now. And the other part I've added 2 inches zipper allowance underneath. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out a starting line, and it is going to serve as the waistline. Now, on this waistline, I'm going to remove 1.5 inches from my band and mark down to hip point 8 inches. Still leaving my tape just like that. I'm going to mark down to 18 inches for the length of my skirt, and I'm going to draw my lines across just like this. Now, after this, I'll move down to the length of my skirts and add 1 inch for hemming allowance, and then cut out the remaining part of the Ankara, which I'm not going to use for drafting the skirts. Now you can see that what I have on the table is what I'm going to use to cut out both my front and the back skirts. Now on the waistline, I'm going to place my tape on the center fold of the fronts, divide my waist circumference by 4, add up 1 inch for that allowance. Now I'll move over to the hip and divide my hip circumference by 4, mark it down. And then on the length of my skirt, I'm going to minus 1.5 inches from the hip measurements and then mark it down. Now after this, I'll move over to the waist point again to add my sewing allowance. So my sewing allowance, I'll be making use of 2 inches. So I marked it out from the waistline down to the length of my skirt and connected all the points together. Now you can see from the hip point, I went down by 1 inch before connecting to the hip point. This is because I don't want any form of sharp curve around that place. Okay, it will help eliminate that. Now after this, I'm going to move over to the waist point again and then mark out my dart. Okay, now from the center fold, I'm going to mark in 4 inches. I'm using nipple to nipple measurement of 8 inches divided by 2, 4. So I'm going to mark 4 inches from there. And for the depth of my dart for the front, I made use of 5 inches. Okay, now after that, I'm going to take out half an inch from both sides of this nipple to nipple points for my dart legs. Okay, and connect it back to the 5 inches dart depth. Okay, so after this, I'm going to repeat the same thing for the back. Okay, now guys, from here I'm going to add up half an inch for joining my waistband to the skirt. So as you can see from the waistline, I'm going to go up by half an inch and then connect the points together just like this. Now after this, I'll move over to the back of my skirts to modify the zipper allowance. So I'm going to be adding up both allowance right at the back, and I'll be doing that on the hip points. So on the hip points, I went out by half an inch and then went down by 4 inches and connected it back to the waistline and then back to the 4 inches mark. Now after that, I will now go out by 1 inch just like this, and that will serve as the zipper allowance. So I'll go ahead and connect the points together. So now that we are done connecting the points, we are going to have to cut it out. Now after cutting it out, I'll go ahead and notch my zipper allowance. Here is what we have. This is our both front and the back, and please Do not forget to note the front and the back piece, because you can see that this fabric looks alike both for the front and the back. Now from here, I'm going to bring in the front part and then go down by 1.5 inches. But because I've added half an inch for joining the waistband, I'm going to go down by 1 inch, connect it back to the side seam of the front skirt and then cut it out. And you guys, you can see what we have. Can you see what the front looks like? Now I'm going to go cut out the lining for both the front and the back and equally mark out their darts, okay, on this lining. So you can see this is my back piece and I equally have the front piece. Now the depth of the dart for the front is 5, while the depth for the back is 6 inches, okay. Now I'm going to move over to my sewing machine, place my lining and the fabric right side facing each other, and you guys, you can see that my lining is 1 inch shorter than the actual fabric. So I'll bring it like this and stitch with half an inch top stitch and sew the side seam. Now after doing that for the front, I'll repeat the same thing for the back. So you can see I have my back piece. I'm just going to arrange my linings on it and then move over to the sewing machine to stitch. So I'm just trying to show you guys what the dart looks like. Now after stitching both the sides, go ahead and join the darts together, okay. And you guys, you can see this is what we have. I've equally joined the darts, and next thing we want to do is go ahead and join the zipper allowance of the back, okay. So what I'm going to do is place my two back piece together just like this, and then place the front part of my skirt on top of it and then mark out the zipper allowance, okay. Now guys, I'm going to come to the hip point. Remember that our hip point is 8 inches. So I'm going to come there and mark out half an inch and then connect it to the waist point and then down to the hemline, just like this. And now go over to my sewing machine and stitch it, okay. But before I stitch it, let me tell you what to do. From the upper part of your skirt, mark out half an inch for joining your waistband to the skirt, and then from this half an inch go down to 9 inches. So this is where your zip is going to stay, and from the hemline come up by 4 inches. That is where your slit is going to stay. Now from this half an inch to the 9 inches, sew it with a loose stitch, and from this 9 inches down to the 4 inches mark, sew it with a tie stitch, and then the slit should be open, okay. Now after that, go ahead and input your body measurement. So this is what I have right here. So you can see I've marked out my body measurements. This is the back part and I also have the front beneath. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut out a piece of fabric which I'm going to use for my ruffles. Now this piece of fabric was cut out with the length of my skirt times 3. Now the length of my skirt, you know, is 18 inches. 18 times 3, whatever it gives you, go ahead and cut it out. Now the height of these ruffle pieces is 4.5 inches. I'm going to use half an inch to join to the skirt, and the remaining part is going to be 4 inches. Now I've folded one end of it, and to the other end I'm going to go run a loose stitch so that I'll use it to gather it up. So I've gathered one. Now here is how to do that. You hold one of the thread and then pull, okay. Now you're going to gather it to the length of your skirt, and after I was done with this, you guys, you can see this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my skirts, okay, the front of my skirts, and then to the front of this my skirts, I'm going to also mark out my body measurement on both parts, okay. And then I'm going to fix in the ruffles on it just like I'm showing you right now, okay. So I'm going to do this for one part and also repeat the same thing for the other side, and after that I'm going to use the back part to join both the front and the back skirts together, okay. So after joining it and fixing the back part to it, you guys, this is what we have. And see how neatly finished this is looking. Our ruffle is sitting right by the side beautifully well, okay. Now it is time for us to join the band of the skirt. Remember, the band is 1.5 inches. So I've cut out my band. I also made use of a paper stay to fuse into it just to make it stronger. Okay, now unfold my band is 1.5 inches, but if I open it up, you can see I folded in half an inch on both sides. Okay, so if I measure this, you will see that my band is 4 inches. Can you see? So guys, if I close it up, it's going to turn to 1.5 inches, and the length is just enough to go around my waistline. Now guys, I'm going to go fix it from one end of my zipper allowance to the other end, and after fixing it, I'm going to equally fix in my zip. Okay, so I'll go do this, and you guys, this is what we have, and this is our skirt. This is how beautiful the skirt is looking. I hope you guys find this tutorial helpful. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.